Refreshing, flavoursome and crisp. Some of the words that we've come to use to describe the beers that we love. However, did you know that there are ancient beers in Georgia that continue to be brewed today? Aluda or aludi is a traditional Georgian beer that has deep historical roots, particularly in the mountainous regions of Georgia such as Kisturi, Mituleti, Gudamakari, Pshavi, and Tusheti. It is known for its unique brewing process, ingredients, and cultural significance. Today, I will be brewing a small batch of my own Aluda and simultaneously talking about the history of Aluda and mountain beer culture in general within Georgia. Aluda has been brewed for centuries in the highlands of Georgia. The harsh climate, remote location of these areas have preserved many traditional practices, including the brewing of Aluda. Whilst Georgia is known as the cradle of wine, with the oldest winemaking evidence in the world, the mountains are far too rugged for growing grapes. Alcohol was a great way to ensure the water was sterile and safe to drink, even before knowledge of bacteria. The brewing methods and recipes for Aluda have been passed down through generations, maintaining a strong connection to the past. The name Aluda itself is believed to be derived from a legendary hero, a figure in local folklore, symbolizing strength and endurance. Similar practices can be found right across the Caucasian cultures, such as with the Alan people or the Kist people, also known as Chechens. Now, let's brew the Aluda whilst talking about the ingredients and the process. So firstly, barley and wheat are the primary grains used in Aluda. They are cultivated locally. These grains give Aluda its distinct flavour and body. Next, we have local herbs and spices. Unlike modern beers that solely use hops, Aluda incorporates local herbs and spices to enhance flavour and preservation. Common additives include coriander, mint, thyme, and other aromatic herbs that are found in the region. Technically, this makes this a grut and not a beer, but that's a different conversation. Some modern versions of Aluda do use hops. I've seen wild hops growing around Tel Aviv, picked them myself. They seem to be similar to that of the Kazbek strain. I've had a handful of noble hops on hand, some rosemary that is from Tusheti, and crushed coriander seeds. I'll add it. The final ingredient is natural yeast. Traditional Aluda relies on wild yeast strains for the fermentation, which contribute to its unique taste profile. These yeast strains are naturally present in the environment and give the beer a distinctive character. Sometimes these come from barrels themselves or are inoculated with wild yeast spores during the cooling process. I've used a farmhouse strain of yeast, which I harvested from a Belgian lambic beer. Next, the brewing process. Preparations for brewing beer would normally start 7 to 8 days before a holiday known as Kvabebis Dakra, the placing of the pots in Kisturi, and Kvabebis Shekideba, the hanging of the pots in Tusheti. In this process, the best ratio has been considered as 1 measure of barley malt per 1 measure of water. This is then boiled, and the pressed sweet parts called Sveni are poured into a freshly cleaned beer pot, and the hops and herbs and spices are then added. Now the mashing process is where the grains are heated for about 65 degrees Celsius to convert the starches into fermentable sugars, and this process is done using traditional methods such as wooden tools, stone grinding. I know I've not used a temperature probe to make mine to be more authentic because that wouldn't have been available back then. The boiling comes next, is where the liquid is boiled to extract flavours and sterilise the mixture, and this is a crucial step in developing the beer's flavour profile. It is also during this stage that I will be adding the other ingredients. Fermentation. The boiled mash is then transferred into fermentation vessels, typically made of wooden clay. The natural yeast initiates the fermentation process, which can take several days to weeks, depending on environmental conditions. Since it's a very small batch, I've just used a Pyrex flask. Aluda is usually aged in cool, dark cellars or caves to develop its flavours. The aging process can vary, but it often results in a robust and complex beer. Now, I've aged this only for 2 weeks in a glass bottle, not ideal. Wait for the tasting at the end of the video. Aluda is an essential part of many local festivals and celebrations in the Highlands. It is brewed and consumed during important events such as weddings, religious ceremonies, and community gatherings and funerals. Offering Aluda to guests is a sign of hospitality and respect. It symbolises the host's generosity and importance of the community bonds. Aluda is often associated with specific rituals and traditions, including toasts and blessings. These practices reflect the beer's deep-rooted cultural significance and its role in social cohesion. Unfortunately, keeping these traditions alive and relevant has become difficult, and ensuring the authenticity of Aluda while adapting to modern regulations and market demands is a challenge. Efforts are being made to document traditional recipes and methods to safeguard this cultural treasure. However, a lot of them are already lost. An example of modern Aluda that has made its way to the modern market is Kisturi, a non-alcoholic beer made by the Muslim Kist community with rose hips and other herbs. I visited Kisturi Brewery, where I picked up a bottle to do the side-by-side comparison with my own Aluda-style beer. I could have driven to the local bottle shop in Tbilisi, but where's the fun in that? So I drove through misty mountain passes and came out in the splendidly sunny Pankisi Valley, where I crossed rickety wooden bridges to Kisturi Brewery. It's important to note, Pankisi is where the Kists live, ethnically pretty much Chechens, and are likewise practicing Muslims. Therefore, the beers are non-alcoholic. I could do a whole video about this place as its history is fascinating. I met with the brewer Shengeli, who gave me a tour around his small operation. He said that only 40% of his beers go to Tbilisi, while the remainder are staying in the valley as the drink of choice. I saw large PET bottles being sold near mosques and in markets. The brewery is sat at the bottom of a herding pass that leads to Shekvatili and Tusheti parks. These are some of the highest inhabited places in the world. Pankisi is where many mountain dwellers come to trade their animals. His brewery is small and can make 4 tons of beer over 2 weeks. He showed me his locally acquired ingredients: rose hips, black hawthorn, honey, corn, barley, wheat and hops. Note that these are dry here, but he uses fresh green hops. All these ingredients are produced and harvested within the mountains and the valleys of Georgia. Now let's compare my Aluda with Kisturi. Straight away you can notice slight colour differences, mine being lighter in body, maybe slightly hazier too, while Kisturi is darker but still quite hazy. Mine has a much more pronounced head. The Aluda has a big herbal aroma due to the ingredients. The rosemary really punches you in the face. The flavour is much more traditionally ale-like, with the grain taking centre stage. It has a slight spiciness from the coriander and a little hop flavour too. The farmhouse yeast hasn't added too much to it, but then again it wasn't aged for very long. Kisturi has a super fruity aromatic aroma that also translates in the flavour. Due to the lack of alcohol drying out the beer, it is pretty sweet, almost compote-like, and a little jammy. Very little hop flavour is present. You do get some breadiness from the body. Both are pretty unique and tasty. Hopefully I did it some justice. Write in the comments which you would prefer to try and why. I hope this video will in some way pique the interest in this endangered style of beer. If it has, please give the video a comment below, share and like. To conclude, Aluda is more than just a beer, it is a symbol of Georgian cultural heritage, particularly in the highland regions. Its traditional brewing techniques, unique ingredients, and deep-rooted significance in social and ritual contexts make it a fantastic subject for those who are interested in history and culture, or just beer. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe for more Georgian history and culture. This has been Daikida Tbilisi.